Hello students, today we will deal with the second chapter of your textbook First Flight. Of course this chapter is quite long, so we will be dividing this chapter into part A and part B. Half of the chapter will be given in part A, the other part will be given part B. This chapter is an excerpt from the autobiography of Nelson Mandela, Long Walk to Freedom. The name of his autobiography is Long Walk to Freedom, and this chapter's name also is the same, Long Walk to Freedom. Nelson Mandela was born on 18th July 1918 and died on 5th December 2013. He was the first black president of South Africa. This extract from Long Walk to Freedom includes description of the inauguration ceremony, citations from his speech, his journey to being a freedom fighter, the struggles, along with a tribute to the other freedom fighters and countless other people who fought for their country's freedom. In South Africa, a brutal practice named apartheid was followed. Apartheid refers to the discrimination of people between people on the basis of their race. It was one of the most brutal societies where dark-skinned people were deprived of their basic rights. This lesson gives us an overview as to how Nelson Mandela, along with others, carved their way to a society where there will be no discrimination on the basis of their color, caste, race, age, or gender. So we will not be going line by line explanation. We will be dealing with this chapter paragraph by paragraph to reduce the length of the video. 10th May dawned bright and clear. For the past few days, I had been pleasantly besieged by dignitaries and world leaders who were coming to pay their respects before the inauguration. The inauguration would be the largest gathering ever of international leaders on South African soil. The ceremonies took place in the lovely sandstone amphitheater formed by the Union buildings in Pretoria. For decades, this had been the seat of white supremacy, and now it was the site of a rainbow gathering of different colors and nations for the installation of South Africa's first democratic, non-racial government. The extract begins with the preparations made for the swearing-in ceremony of Mandela and other important leaders at the end of the white era and the grand beginning of black era. 10th May was begun bright and clear. It was the day when Nelson Mandela sworn in as the first black head of the state South Africa. He was very happy, and he was happily surrounded by high officers and world leaders for many days. It was after years of struggle that his anti-racist party came into power. Until then, the seat had always been occupied by white presidents. That is why he refers to this day as bright and clear. It was a morning full of hope. Days before this date, many notable personalities started congratulating him for his victory over the white domination over black people. For the first time in the country's history, so many international leaders came together for the inauguration ceremony. The ceremony took place in an open circular building made of sandstone consisting of Union buildings in the Pretoria city. Pretoria city is one of the three capital cities of South Africa. It is serving as the executive branch of South African government and as the host of all foreign embassies to South Africa. There are two other capital cities for South Africa. One is Cape Town, it is the legislative capital, and there is another one, the third one, Bloemfontein. It is the judicial capital of South Africa. On that lovely autumn day, I was accompanied by my daughter Zanani. On the podium, Mr. de Klerk was first sworn in as second deputy president. Then Thabo Mbeki was sworn in as first deputy president. When it was my turn, I pledged to obey and uphold the Constitution and to devote myself to the well being of the Republic and its people. Sorry. The author was accompanied by his daughter Zanani Mandela on his very big day, the most important day of his life. First, the two vice presidents, Mr. de Klerk and Thabo Mbeki, they took oath. Then, when his turn came, he committed to respect, protect, and abide by the Constitution and to devote his entire self into the well being of the country, South Africa. To the assembled guest and the watching world, I said, today, all of us do, by our presence here, confer glory and hope to the newborn liberty. Out of the experience of an extraordinary human disaster that lasted too long, must be born a society of which all humanity will be proud. We who were outlaws not so long ago have today been given the rare privilege to be host to the nations of the world on our own soil. We thank all of our distinguished international guests for having come to take possession with the people of our country of what is, after all, a common victory for justice, for peace, for human dignity. Nelson Mandela mentions in some parts of his speech where he said that everyone by his presence was giving rise to hope for a new beginning. Previous rulers were discriminatory and lasted for a long time. Their rule lasted for discriminatory rule lasted for a long time. But the ones who are given the opportunity to rule now would stand up against discrimination. He is glad to host a ceremony with the presence of global leaders. It is an achievement in itself because global leaders have come to that country where that brutal system of apartheid was practiced. This was a time when there was a time when South Africa, for practicing apartheid, lost all its international political relationships. Now, when there is no segregation on the basis of race and gender, other nations are happy to have healthy democratic relationship with South Africa. Finally, they have come to power and they pledged to make everyone proud. The non-racial government has come to power and they are pledged to make everyone proud by being non-racial, by being an example to the entire world. He thanked everyone, especially the international leaders, for joining them in celebrating their achievement, which is a step towards an equal society where every human will be treated fairly. We have at last achieved our political emancipation. We pledged ourselves to liberate all our people from the continuing bondage of poverty, deprivation, suffering, gender, and other discrimination. Never, never and again shall it be that this beautiful land will again experience the oppression of one by another. The sun shall never set on so glorious a human achievement. Let freedom reign. God bless Africa. Nelson Mandela mentions that after great struggle, they have finally achieved political freedom. His government promised to free everyone of the still existing hardship and inequalities of all kind, along with assuring everyone of a country where no community will be considered inferior. He then exclaims that freedom should rule and may God shower his blessing on the people of South Africa. A few moments later, we all lifted our eyes in awe as a spectacular array of South African jets Helicopters and troop carriers roared in perfect formation over the Union buildings. It was not only a display of pinpoint precision and military force, but a demonstration of the military's loyalty to democracy, to a new government that had been freely and fairly elected. Just after the newly elected president's Mandela's address to the audience, they looked up in the sky in surprise to witness an impressive arrangement of fighter jets, helicopters, and soldier transporters. It symbolized perfection as well as military's respect and obedience towards the free country. Why it is something surprising for them? Because until then, those troops, the military, everyone, they were uh, showing their obedience, giving their obedience to the white people. Now, when the black people they took the power, they came to power, they are ready to obey the black people. Only moments before, the highest generals of the South African Defense Force and police, their chest bedecked with ribbons and medals from days gone by, saluted me and pledged their loyalty. I was not unmindful of the fact that not so many years before, they would not have saluted but arrested me. Finally, a chevron of Impala jets left a smoke trail on the trail of the black, red, green, blue, and gold of the new South African flag. The High Commissioners who have won medals for their bravery under British rule also saluted and promised their loyalty to Mandela government. Mandela mentions that he was not unmindful of the fact or very well aware of the fact that these commanders who were now saluting him would have arrested him under the previous rule, as during the oppressive white supremacy he was considered as a criminal. The air show finally ended by making of the South African flag in the sky from the smoke beneath the jet flights. The day was symbolized for me by the playing of our two national anthems and the vision of whites singing Ngoski Sikele Iafrika and the black singing Daistem, the old anthem of the Republic. Although that day neither groups knew the lyrics of the anthem they once despised, they would soon know the words by heart. Nelson Mandela remembers the day as the playing of two national anthems of the country. Very rare countries have got this, like two anthems. Our country has got one only. One of the whites, in South Africa, for whites people, there was one anthem, and the others, the black people, they have other anthem. Like it's said, Ngoski Sikele Iafrika and Daistem. These two are the national anthems, and these are sung by blacks and whites in the country. On that day, no one knew the wordings of the lyric or the lyrics of that national anthems, because black people will not be by hearting the white people's anthem, and white people will not be by hearting the lyrics of black people's anthem. But he was confident on one thing, that soon in the coming days black people will be learning the lyrics of white people's anthem, and the same way white peoples will be learning the anthems of black people by heart in coming days. Such a harmony, such a good relation will be created in coming days. That's what he hopes. That's what he's confident about. On the day of the inauguration, I was overwhelmed with a sense of history. In the first decade of the 20th century, a few years after the bitter Anglo-Boer War, and before my own birth, the white-skinned peoples of South Africa patched up their differences and erected a system of racial domination against the dark-skinned peoples of their own land. The structure they created formed the basis of one of the harshest, most inhuman societies the world has ever known. Now, in the last decade of the 20th century, and my own eighth decade as a man, that system had been overturned forever and replaced by one that recognized the rights and freedoms of all the peoples regardless of their color. On the day of the inauguration ceremony, the author Nelson Mandela was remembering the days of the past when this whole system of apartheid emerged. All these systems started in the early beginning of this 20th century, soon after the Anglo-Boer War. Anglo-Boer War actually it started on 11th October 1899 and ended 31st May 1902, early beginning of 20th century. And it was fought between the British Empire and two independent Boer states of South Africa, like South African Republic and the Orange Free State, against British Empire. It resulted in inequality and inferior treatment of dark skinned people. They were deprived of their fundamental rights. As a result, one of the world's most brutal and inhuman society was born. This began even before Mandela was born. This system created an atmosphere of extreme cruelty and injustice for a particular part of the community, that's a dark skinned people. Now, when he is in his eighth decade as a man, he, along with countless other brave souls, they have changed this and their system. The present system treats humans as humans, irrespective of their caste, color, gender, or age. And that's all for the first part, part A, and the part B will be